We're back on a new video covering the markets today. Our 100k to a million challenge is at 211. So we up like 111%. That's basically no change from last video, which I think was two days ago. And I wanted to here describe. Today's a Sunday. We are a few hours away from New York Open. How do I basically what goes on my mind when I look at the market and just positioning for the portfolio and just the challenge accounts. For those of you that are new, I'm replicating the trades more or less on this account. So the portfolio value is different, but this is a public account. By the time you look at this, maybe this will have changed slightly. Maybe I won't use this word anymore, but this is a pretty well-known wallet of mine. So if you want to have some kind of track record, you can just look at this. It's got a million, 900k PNL, and combined is roughly 2 million. I'm doing this as social proof, right? So just quickly, like the tools I use, I'm not really sophisticated. I'm not doing like I'm doing swing trades. Average holds time of the trades that we have so far on the 100k to a million is about 3 days. So I'm not doing intraday. I don't even qualify myself as a trader necessarily. And just the tools I use is Velo. Velo being for derivatives, very simple tool. One day I might just do a tutorial on this, but through the videos you'll understand how I use it. MMT, which is slightly more advanced, which got a lot of indicators that are useful. And we'll go through today as well on how I use this tool. And then just basic trading view, and then some of the tools depending on the altcoins that we trade. Today, the current positioning is we're net short. I think about 3x delta on the book, like 2x delta on BTC short, and then 1x on hyperliquid or hype short. Just quickly, the thesis for hyperliquid is fairly simple. One is like if we look purely at the chart, it's in a downtrend here on a 2 hour basis where you're just making lower lows. Just doesn't take a genius to see this. And the reason why I came into this trade is because we had peak mindshare for hype around again, that weekend where you had Financial Times covering the fact that hype was the only venue where you could trade oil on 24/7. And it's very simple, very basics, but when you look at a token, you have to wonder who's the marginal buyer. And when something has peak attention, that could hint at the fact that short term there may not be as many marginal buyers as possible. One trade event that is going to tell us how to navigate through this trade is you have this page that's called hyperscan.io/staking. You can go on the unstaking queue tab, and then you'll look at the unlocks, and you see that you have a 90 million unlock that's due around the 8th or 9th of April. And I think, to me, it's just very clear that this is going to be priced by the market earlier. So today we're the 5th, and I would expect drawdown from the 6th to 7th or even 8th of April. It's 90 million of a token. You have different scenarios. Maybe it's going to be purchased OTC by the hyperliquid DATs. But you don't have two ways about it. It's just net bearish that someone's selling 90 million on a token. Like Hype is very liquid as a token. If you want to offload 90 mil, you're going to struggle. It's going to be a pain for you to trade out of this. So for me to invalidate the swing short on Hype, what I would want to see is the market being able to absorb that 90 million in sell, and then overall just make higher lows on this very low time frame structure. Well, low time frame as a swing trader, not as a scalper. And to me, if the market is able to absorb the 90 million sale like it's nothing, then you have to revise your buyers. My guess is that I want to cover the short from the low 30s. So in between 29 and 31, 32, that's probably where I want to hand this short, and that would be about 10%, 15% from here, which I don't think is too far fetched. On BTC, and the reason why I'm comfortable shorting Hype here is also because I have the market is pretty undecisive when it comes to BTC, and I think just the overall market. So what I'm trying to assess here is we have a 2x delta short on BTC, and the structure again is very simple here. If you hold a short, that okay, you're like, it doesn't take again a genius to understand this. You have the VWAP, which is the volume weighted average price from the large sell-off on the 6th, and the price just, especially for the weekend, just doing nothing. And what you're trying to understand here is what's your plan for the week, especially around New York Open. What is the price likely going to do? Medium time frame, which to me is a couple of weeks. It's hard for me to be bullish when you have oil that's on a crazy run and likely gonna stay on a run. I'm no macro expert. I'm not gonna trade oil, obviously. But it seems like the situation in Hormuz is likely not going to go back to normal. And I don't think anyone's really ready for this to go back to, stay elevated above 100 for a week, like a few weeks or a few months. Because that means then every central bank has to revise their plans around what to do for the economy. And obviously, that is not good for growth and tech stocks, etc. As we said last time, I do think there is a bunch of complacency around the S&P. I don't think that we saw the market reverse, and what you're trying to understand is from the news that we had this weekend. So namely, I think it was an F-15 that got struck in Iran, and then you had a rescue operation in Iran. You're trying to understand, because the market's closed, and whether crypto is pricing this in correctly. I think it's okay to understand that this is a net bad news. Bad news because that means in the first place, Iran had the capabilities to strike a fighter jet, which is going at the complete opposite of what Trump was saying about Iran, losing war capabilities. And so you're trying to assess whether this is how this is going to be priced in by the overall market. And the reason for holding shorts from here, it seems just like BTC does not care and just say, okay, it's just like nothing happened. maybe it's just right, and I think you don't want to necessarily be bear hold, because maybe there's definitely a case where this is just S&P is going to resolve up, and that was just a dip, and you just have to be mindful of this. My invitation for BTC here is if this level has now a lot of significance because it was the level at which Trump said that when basically when everyone was expecting some kind of de-escalation, Trump doubled down on saying that they're going to strike Iran for the next 2 to 3 weeks, which which was a net bad news. So if the market's now going back to the same level, to me that indicates that okay, the market just doesn't like market just maybe just bottomed, and you have to be okay with it. So current plan is see how the New York see at New York Open, and you'll see it also at CME. So when the futures market open, but how are folks pricing in the risk emission from the weekends? You also have to be mindful that we saw more flows on in the almost straight than usual. I think like a still not back to normal, but we saw an increase, and I think the like absolute rate at which ships were passing through was the highest since the conflict started, which to me is a good clue that maybe things will resolve faster than anyone expects. Um, my plan and why I pulled up MMT is to understand if you're short and things go south from here. So let's say New York Open turned out that in fact BTC was not able to price in the weekend news, which is most often the case, that BTC players are complacent. Levels of interest, I'm using MMT here. You have this heat map and liquidation template, which tells you um, where basically liquidation levels are, and it goes. It's pretty obvious from here, and you could even derive it from the charts. But this level here below the 65K is a key level. I think if you lose 65, a lot of people will flip bearish. Um, and you have liquidations all the way down to 60s. And the way I manage my trades is I would use trailing stops on the way down. So if we go to 65, for example, I would start having TPs at 60, so that if the market reverses, I'm taking profit basically on the way up, inverse from my trade direction. And the reason why I'm doing it is because if we go to 65, things can accelerate really quickly in the same fashion that you had an acceleration from, that was an insane one from the 90s all the way down to 60s. And having this trailing TP enables you to capture much of the move down. I shared that on Telegram, but I think we're very close to a bottom still. Like anything in the 55 to 70s is on a high time frame a good price. So it's very likely that if the market starts to price in something that's crazy, maybe that's like a ground invasion, or maybe it's just even nuclear weapons. I think it makes sense to target like a mean reversion on BTC. But current game plan is from that swing short. If the market is telling me, okay, just like it's a nothing burger, you cut basically here at the time where Trump gave a speech. And if market resolves down, then you want to use trailing stops. So, concretely, what I would do is you set stop loss that's in profits, and then you move that stop loss over time, and that is usually giving you the best execution, um, which is similar to taking partial TP and stop loss. Um, Still, like the bias overall is that this is range bound, and you have to like we took this we took this base assumption, and I think that was correct, and that's what enabled us to have a good start from essentially this range. Like while BTC did nothing, our challenge is about 100% up, which is good. And I still view this as range bound, so that's why I wanna take progressive stop loss. That's going to be in profit, so I mean technically take profits. Um, and I likely flip long at range lows because that's irresponding of what the market does. Like same scenario when we were at the highs here. I was not doing videos back then, but the thing was, it's market can be as bullish as it wants. I'm gonna treat this as a range regardless. So same here. If we, for example, if we lose 60K decisively, I have absolutely no interest in being in seeking longs, because then the range has broken down, and then I think it's just a very different trade from there on. So if the market's giving me 60, 62, 61, 60s, I'll have to I think cover short or just progressively with what I just said on the stop loss technique, and then flipping long is at the range lows with invalidation, where you're waiting for eventually reversal pattern on the at least an hour, and you want that range low to hold. If we don't hold that range low, it's likely you just go to the mid 50s, and then I would advise not to try and take a long if we lose 60. Um, and you'll most likely anyway be hit by a liquidation cascade that would be pretty big, below the 60 level. So that's how I'm coming into this week. I understand it's very nuanced, but you have to adapt. Like you have to have different scenarios, and I do have a lot of the way I work, and those videos are very new to me. So I'll have to be a bit more eloquent and find better ways to explain. But I know my week is pretty. I know what my next trade is gonna be essentially. If you give me range lows, I I know usually ahead of time what my altcoin pick is going to be to get bits on the market. You have a tool that I've built, which is nothing, obviously nothing crazy. But that tool is this tool, and you can see how the market is reacting. Wait, all right. So that tool doesn't want to load today, but you can see you can do this stuff also on TradingView, where you can check which altcoin has outperformed or is holding quite well. So the question is, do you lever up on BTC or do you chase another altcoin? And to me, one that I like at the moment is Zcash, so ZEC, which has shown quite a bit of strength. We can actually go on the Propr terminal to check this out, where we can map, for example, ZEC over well, BTC over Zcash. And I find that Zcash has good relative strength over BTC, and that if you were to find a button on BTC, I think Zcash is a I think Zcash sorry, is a good play. So that I likely express a long through Zcash if we go to range lows, and then have your invalidation be based not necessarily on Zcash level, but more so BTC level. Again, like go below 60s and it's all it's lights out. But to me, there is a good long. If we were to lose that level, you have to be very good at risk management and risk manage from 68 to 55. But then high time frame, I think this is way too bullish not to take a long. So anyway, I think that was long enough of a video. I'm going to leave you there. Again, if you want to follow this on in real time, you can join the Telegram where I'm giving real time updates on trades, and if there's any changes in execution, that's where I discuss about this.